In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. We celebrate the Feast of the Cross, and this feast is 2 days. Yesterday was the consecration of the Church of the Cross, and today we have the bringing in the wood of the cross by Queen Helena's order and King Constantine to the church in Jerusalem. And they had a procession, and the church, remember that by the same thing. They did a great and glorious procession. It's explained to us in history as something very glorious. And the reason was that King Constantine won. He won his battles and became the king of the Roman Empire, East and West, by the sign of the cross. He was told in the vision. You see this in the icon. When you get done, this icon is a Byzantine icon, has the story of the cross. Like there is 17 small icons in it, and each icon explain one bit of the story. الأيقونة دي فيها القصة بتاعت الصليب. So the first part on the top would be Jesus carrying the cross and being crucified on it. The left side will be the vision of Constantine and the cross on the left row on the left side. And then the right side, the miracles that happened from that cross. And the bottom part, I think it is about the consecration of the church and the procession. So this is a whole book written there on the cross. If you want, after you get done with the liturgy, you can look at it and look at the different icons and try to understand or read the story. Today we have readings from the gospel on the cross, and it seems like we have to, from time to time, not just use the cross. The cross is our sign. This is what Constantine was told. He looked at it, and someone told him, a voice came to him and said, by this you will conquer. By this sign you will win. By this sign you'll become victorious. So the sign of the cross over history was a sign of power to those who believe in its power. Those who believe that the cross was the sign given to us to conquer and to defeat and to do miracles. You have the king in the story of Theogonosta today, that he had seen the girl, the saintly girl, crossing herself and crossing things, and miracles happened. His son was healed by the sign of the cross. He used it to find his way back after he got lost. Today I want to go back to St. Paul. One of the things that St. Paul, in our prayers, when the deacon come up here and read the letter of St. Paul, the priest pray this. It says, Lord, make us worthy to be imitators of St. Paul, your apostle. In which way? He said, loving, what's he said? Being proud of your cross, that's one. And the second thing is to be imitator of you. So Paul imitated Christ, and he was proud of the cross. In one time, St. Paul says, God forbid, I will never do that. God forbid that I should boast, should be proud of anything except in the cross of Christ. To be proud of nothing. To be so, excited about anything in the world but the cross of Christ. And why is that? Why is the cross of Christ? Why he should be proud of nothing except the cross? Basically he's saying, I'm not proud of anything that you would be proud of, anybody would be proud of. So let us go through St. Paul's idea of thought of what the cross means to him. The cross is actually the opposite of all human motivations. It's the opposite. So people wanted to have power. What's in the cross? It's weakness. The cross talks, the people in the world wants glory, wants something to be showing off. What's in the cross to show off? Shame, nakedness, humiliation. The world talks about richness, and everybody in the world wants to make it in this life by making a fortune and money. What's the cross about? Absolute poverty. So what is that? I mean, what is that? What is the cross? What's the cross to be proud about? What is it? What is in the cross that is not any of that? So last night I brought in this verse from St. John Gospel in the talk. Jesus had a talk with Nicodemus, one of the Pharisees, and he said, and he keeps saying it again and again in the Gospel, he says, as Moses lifted up the bronze serpent in the wilderness, likewise Jesus will be lifted up. What is the story of the bronze serpent? I said it yesterday quickly. The people of Israel got so angry with God and Moses. They said, look at us. We are most pitiable. We are weak. We are hungry. We're out in the desert. There's nothing to look at. There's nothing to enjoy. We don't have money. We don't have land. We don't have anything. You are murderers. They called God murderer. That's how they went. They went so far to say that. And Moses said and the Lord said to Moses, okay, if they call me a murderer, we'll have to do something about that. So he sent them serpents. One of those serpents known in the deserts and outside, maybe in Sinai and in the Saudi Arabia. It's a small snake like this, but very poisonous. It's like an hour after biting and the person would die. So this is what happened to them. He sent them those serpents and they were dying right and left. And then they cried to Moses, we have made mistakes, we have made a mistake, God is angry with us, we should not have not said that. He said, Moses, don't be afraid. God told me to put a bronze snake, a snake made of bronze, and I put it up. And then anyone who looks at that bronze snake, if they are bitten, they will survive. That's your way out. So what was that about? They said, okay, we're bitten by live snakes, real live snakes that has venom, and you want me not to take a medicine, not to have anything in my mouth or being shot with. You want me just to look at that, and that would save me? Moses said that's what God wanted. Why? Because you're so wise, you're so prudent, you know what's good for you, you really know what is good and what's not good for you, and you decided that what I'm doing is not good for you. Then the only way for you to be saved is to follow what I'm saying, even if it doesn't make sense. And that's it. So when St. Paul looks at this, and the Gospel of St. John looks at this and said, how wise is the cross? What's the wisdom in the cross? What's the wisdom to take the King, the glorious God, and hang him on a cross and put him up like that? What's the wisdom in that? It's nothing. There's no wisdom. It's actually foolish. Have you ever thought about this? You and I hang a cross around our neck and go around very proud of it, the golden cross or a very ornamented cross. But have you ever thought about the cross, what the cross is? What's the cross? It's an execution. It's a tool of execution. The Romans used it to kill their enemies in the most horrendous way, so that anybody would look at it will never think about disobeying the Roman law. Yes, exactly today. If you think about it today, whatever states is left with capital punishment, what do they use? They use the electric chair, right? Or they can use some of the lethal injection. So imagine you going around with electric chair, small one, gold around your neck and going around with it. What is this? What is this to be proud of? People try to avoid it by all means. You're hanging around your neck the most ridiculous sign you can imagine. But this sign became so important to us because it's the sign of the Son of God. So when God adopts that sign, He means He wants us to accept His ways, accept Him, without our minds being so much involved in this. But He is going to show you. That's what St. Augustine said. That doesn't mean I become a fool. No. It means you believe and then you should understand. That's what St. Augustine said. So someone would say, let me understand something and then I will believe. God would say, believe and I will make you understand. St. Augustine says, I believe, then I understand. So what to take from the cross on a practical level? We are asked to carry our crosses. We are asked to carry our crosses. Sometimes it means to go against what everybody else wants and desire. So you're in a family and you have kids and your wife or your husband and maybe your parents, and you don't really like what they're doing or what they're saying. And it's not against the commandment of God, but I don't like it. It's not really my cup of tea. I would have preferred to do something else. What would the cross say? What would the cross say? You want the way of God? What should you do? Take it. Accept it. My father and my mother is not doing what I want. They're really annoying me. Good for you. Good for you. You want the way of the world? Go fight with them. Show them that you can actually be a stronger person than them. But what does Jesus say? My Father wanted me to be up on the cross. What can I tell you about this? Nothing. But I'll let him have it. That's how I show you that he loves you. The reason why St. Paul was proud of the cross, because in that God showed love to us. He showed us his love. Because that's how it is. After Jesus said the Son of Man has to be lifted up, the next verse he said, for so God loved the world that he had given his only Son, that those who believe in him should not perish. There is a mystery, there is a secret, there is a hidden wisdom in the cross that has not been revealed, and I don't think it will be revealed. But those who followed the cross, they were the closest to God. Those who fought the cross, St. Paul would call them the enemies. Let me tell you what he calls the enemies in Philippians. In the letter to the Philippians, he says, there were people who were from us, from the church, and now he calls them the enemies of the cross of Christ. Who is an enemy? And he said, very simple, those who wants the glory of the world, who wants to follow the way of the world. They see a very good way to walk. This is, everybody's going this way, but Jesus said, no, I will go the opposite way. And they follow that way. They become immediately the enemies of the cross. Are we the enemies of the cross? I will tell you something, sometimes. Sometimes. When we don't accept suffering, when we run away from definite suffering for God and for Christ, when we run from it, it could be in our everyday life, when we choose the easy way, when we choose the opposite way of where Christ is going. So if Jesus said, you have to be kind and gentle to those who love you, and you're harsh, you're an enemy of the cross, right there. When you take the way of anger and resentment and violence, are you taking up your cross? No, you are an enemy of the cross. I'll tell you something, just this is between you and me, and I'm not a politically correct person. If you go to Israel and you hang a cross in the area where the Jewish quarters are, they will spit on you and stone you because you carry that sign. And sometimes you will be told, take off your cross. Please don't. If you ever go to Jerusalem and told, take off your cross, then don't instigate it. Say, I better not go there. I don't need to. Or you go to the Muslim quarters where there's like very aggressive traditional Muslims. They will not be at all. They will not be comfortable with you carrying a cross around. These are the enemies of the cross. Violent. They hate the cross and they hate anyone who carries it. If you are going to act like that, you're going to be part of it. So think about that. The cross is to go against your will, against what pleases you, against what makes you comfortable. When it is needed, we're not really masochists, not a masochistic way. I don't want to torture myself. But when I'm called to be carrying a cross and be crucified, I'll have to do it. Otherwise, I'll be going in the opposite direction. There's no middle way. You cannot say, I'm a compromiser. I'm going to be a little bit this way and a little bit that way. Jesus didn't give us a chance. If we want to follow him, we have to carry the cross in our own home, in our own work environment, in the church. Everyone who wants to, make himself something big is against the cross. Everyone who wants to have control of others is an enemy of the cross, no matter who that person is. He might be the greatest servant. He might be doing miracles. But once they put themselves up for glory and they want to be recognized as someone, they are enemies of the cross. And those who are violent, those who are much indulged in their desires, and they don't want to suffer. They don't want to suffer hunger. They don't want to fast. They don't want to suffer hunger. They don't want to do anything. That's an enmity with the cross. Because what's the cross? What is the cross? It's a sign of weakness. It's hunger. It's thirst. It is humiliation. It is to be beaten up unfairly, even sometimes. I'm not saying that you should do that on purpose, but when it happens to you and there is no way around it but to be violent and aggressive, then that's what we need to do. Hang your pride, hang your glory, human glory, so that you can be shown Christ's glory, that glory of God. That's what Jesus told us and taught us. If you want to be my disciples, go carry your crosses every day and follow me. If we don't want to be disciples of Christ, that's fine, absolutely fine. Jesus does not force anyone to be his disciples. But if you ask my advice, I want to follow him. Glory be to the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, now and forever. Amen.